This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans, so meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unified Purpose, the podcast where we share inspiring tales of compassion, resilience, and community spirit. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's Partnership Coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Toby Spears from Be Humanitarian. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
It's such a privilege. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So could you start by telling us a little bit about you and your organization, your mission, why you started, everything that you think would be relevant to share?
Yeah, of course. We work in this teeny little cute little country called Guatemala. There's a lot of people that might not know where it's located, but it touches the bottom of Mexico. And a couple of years ago, we decided to do a little trip, and we drove from our home in Utah to Guatemala. The idea was just to work and to enjoy and to explore and just grow closer as a family. And we ended up just falling in love with the culture and the people. And so we've been working in Guatemala ever since. And Be Humanitarian focuses on just improving educational opportunities, improving nutrition opportunities, and creating sustainable options. Like, really, it is the same across the board with every one of your guests. If they're working in a developing country, they know that opportunity does not exist like it does in a first world country. So just to create any type of income opportunity, that is our mission. Our mission is to improve the lives of those in need.
That is beautiful. What was it that kind of had this aha moment of I have to do something about this?
I don't know if it was an aha moment or not, but in Guatemala, I happened to meet a dear friend of mine, and she had been doing the reverse. So she had been bringing wealthy Guatemalans to the States so that they could have an interesting American experience. Mm-hmm. And as a person that lives in the States and as a mom with young children, my goal was to allow them to see the outside of their bubble and to see how the world really works outside of a first world country. So it was only about opening eyes and hearts, and but really the impact is so strong when you're standing on the ground, when you're walking into families' homes, when you're helping to provide for a family in need. That's number one for me.
Yeah, no, I think it really is important, and I commend you for wanting to do that for your children as well, because I think that a lot of people grow up in the States and have no idea what it's like outside of it and don't realize the opportunities that they have, even if they're very little. Even if you grow up in an area that you didn't have as many opportunities as maybe someone else, but the States are still very, very different than a lot of other countries, and there's so much opportunity here, which is why there's so much immigration, and it makes complete sense. But it to be able to see how other lives live, not only just to understand your privilege, but to also realize that there's not one way of doing life.
Right.
And I think that that's really wonderful for people to get out of their brains and understand.
Yeah, I completely agree. I grew up in this country with a single mom, and we lived on welfare, and we didn't have a lot, but we had a home, we had breakfast and lunch and dinner, and I had educational opportunities given to me everywhere. I had the opportunity to go to college as a first generation college student. So I had things open up to me that really don't happen in other countries. So when you're poor in Guatemala, you're poor. If you're hungry in a developing country, then you're hungry. Like, there aren't these safe social programs that provide that safety net for our children that are hungry, you know? So I understand what it was like to live in poverty. And I also had never seen this type of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like very eye-opening and very rewarding. Because I mean, Guatemala ranks every year between 4th and 6th most malnourished country in the world. So like, we just have need everywhere. We have, like, every corner you turn on, there's a place to serve. So it makes it very easy to find service opportunities, and at the same time a bit overwhelming at all the opportunities that are existent, you know, like that, all the need that is out there.
How does it work? Like, how does your organization work in the way of like finding these opportunities? Like, do you partner with people? Like, what is that kind of format? How do you reach out to people? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just that we've been working on the ground for so many years. So we constantly are always looking for different ways to collaborate. So collaborating with the local governments, collaborating with local families, collaborating with local NGOs. That's always like such an important skill to have, and such vital relationships to create, because those people are on the ground all the time. I don't live in Guatemala. So I have a team of volunteers that are on the ground, like making sure that Be Humanitarian runs every day. But with that being said, like, we all have to be playing our part. So I'm thrilled to collaborate with other local entities that are on the ground, because they know the needs. And I always refer to our community, to our volunteers, to our moms, like the needs, because again, I don't live there. So I can come in with my own thoughts and my own ideas, and then we can have a discussion. But at the end of the day, like, they're the ones that are living there. They're the ones that walk the walk. So it's their ideas that are the most vital and the most important. So yeah, we definitely love to collaborate. And yeah, I don't have like a set formula on the way it's done, but always with like an open heart. I guess that would be the formula.
No, I love that. And I also think that the collaboration is something that's really important for any nonprofit organization. There are so many unfortunate stories about people that come into an area to try to fix a problem and go about it in such a wrong way, for lack of better phrasing, and working with the community to work towards something that does need to be worked towards, but in a way that makes sense for that community is obviously much better than, you know, fixing something and then leaving and making it worse over time. So it is wonderful that you're trying to do this collaboration as best as possible, especially, of course, everyone's going to have a difference of opinion, but obviously the people that are living through this are going to have the most knowledge on, you know, what is best to do about it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a matter of like having the conversations, like, because I'll come in and say, like, I'll see a problem and I'll say, okay, like, how can we fix this? These are my ideas. But then my ideas work in my world and in my community and in my culture. So they're not going to work worldwide. So I share my ideas, and then together we're able to, like, you know, come, like, flush it all out and come up with a great solution. So I have heard and, you know, seen so many of those stories where it's not actually of service. So that's not where we want to go. We want to be in the work of serving and making the biggest impact we can make.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think that collaboration is crucial to working towards that goal. So I appreciate that that's something that is heavily involved in the process.
Yeah.
When you do this kind of work, I think that something that comes up a lot with nonprofit work is burnout, not necessarily always due to the amount that you may be working, but this like tension with hope and heartbreak and like the balance between it. How do you personally kind of deal with this experience when working with a vulnerable population?
I loved what you said, like the hope versus the heartbreak. I think it takes a lot of tenacity and what my husband would call stubbornness, to just like continue the fight, because I can look around and see people that don't do this and their lives seem like a little bit less stressful. Just running a nonprofit, it doesn't end. It's not a 9 to 5. It's not like an hourly job. It's all the time.
The problem always exists.
Yeah, there's always going to be something. And so I think that's fine. I think there's ebbs and flows. And I think sometimes, just like in a corporation, like your workload is going to be higher. And when you've got, a lower workload, then that's when you can take a break and put your feet up for a moment. Also, like for me, it's about having a team on the ground. So I have all of our moms that are in our community. So our community is made up of children who weren't eating or going to school before we got involved. So all of our kiddos are sponsored, and because of their sponsors, then they get to go to school and they get to eat 3 meals a day and go to English classes and have their uniforms and have all of their needs met, like financially. And then our moms, all of the moms and the dads, they're volunteers for the program. And so they're the ones that are doing the shopping and like all of the communication and the structuring of when we have medical exams and when we have like on the ground stuff, right? Like, so I just get to share ideas and lots of connections, because I have a lot of connections here in the States that like from doctors that are going down to Guatemala, and then I can connect them with our community and put them in charge. But then again, I'm still here. And then when there's volunteers, I get to lead them. And so we go on the ground and we get to do the work on the ground, which is like the funnest thing ever. And so I don't know that there is like a secret potion that allows you to see more hope than heartbreak. I think it could also be like a real personality trait, to see the good and to continue to see the good and to not get overwhelmed when things don't go as we have planned. Yeah. We have heartbreak. We have like in my own like naive thoughts, when I started Be Humanitarian, I would never have thought that we would bury like some of our sponsored kiddos. Like that is not a thought that like, ever would have crossed my mind. Like we're feeding our kiddos, we're supporting our kiddos, we're making sure they get to go to school and that their lives are blessed. And so then there are those things that happen and you're like, wow, that was not part of the plan. That wasn't going to happen. So I think it's just, for me personally, it is to continuously believe that we are doing good work. And just to keep that belief. And heartache comes and goes, but to continue that belief that like, yes, we are working really hard and we're doing good work.
Yeah, because even with heartache, if you let that deter you from the cause, then, there's more heartache. So it's kind of, yeah, it is that like being able to keep going. And I think that it is really hard sometimes, because that's going through these experiences and caring about someone or something or a cause, and being able to, get past when there's like really, I don't even want to call it bumps in the road, because there's much more horrible than that. But to be able to get past that, I mean, like, is truly what's important, because it still needs to be done regardless of whether it's hard or not.
Yeah, I recently took a course at the University of Utah, and we had to do like it's a 360 assessment. So if you've ever been in corporate America, lots of people will resonate with this. And you send out this questionnaire to like 20 or 30 people that you've worked with, people you've worked for, people that you've volunteered with, your partner, your children, like a wide array of people. And what came back was just kind of it was comedic to my husband and I, because we were reading everybody, like it's ranked and it's all these scores. And what came back was that I have like a very high ability to like hope, that like my hope is higher, like my positivity is higher than like maybe average would be. And we just laughed, and he was like, honey, like you wouldn't be able to do what you do if you didn't have like that hope in your heart, like that this was making a difference, that you were doing good work, that this could continue, like you would be like, okay, never mind. Like this is too much work, too hard, too much heartbreak.
Yeah, no, it is. It's something that you need to be able to be resilient in order to be in some kind of position like this, because it is really like it is very difficult to see people struggle in such a way, but they're the ones going through it, so it's kind of like, I don't know, when I would do any kind of volunteer work that was dealing with vulnerable populations, I was just like reminding myself that, yeah, this is hard to deal with and see it happen, but I'm not the one going through this. And
right.
It's a lot more than just me. So yeah, I can completely understand. So
Yeah.
one, I have a question of curiosity. So the sponsors, is this something that comes from donation, like someone chooses to sponsor a kid, or is this like a combination of efforts? Like how does it work out?
So we have monthly sponsors that donate a certain amount every month. Our minimal donation is $20, and that provides 20 hours of English classes for one of our kiddos. And then we have donations that go up into like the several hundred a month, because we've got people and corporations that are sponsoring more than one kiddo.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, they're teamed up. So like they are the ones, they get the updates about their kiddo, they get the photos, and they get to, if they ever want to, they get to go meet them, and they get to walk into their community and see where they go to school, and just like really have a deep appreciation for who they're serving and who they're donating to and who they're helping. So that's how it works. We've got like sponsors all the time, all year long. We don't take anything off the top. So all of our sponsorship dollars go directly to our kiddos. So there's no like question about, oh, so I'm sending in like $37 a month. How much of that goes to support the community? And that's 100%. So 100% goes to support our community. And I'm in contact with them like nearly daily. I chat with somebody in the community almost every single day, and I get photo updates, and then we put those all online, so any of our sponsors can see what we're doing, like on a really accurate timeline.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think that transparency with nonprofits is really great for anyone that's participating in the process to see, because I do think, unfortunately, there is doubt associated with nonprofits a lot of like, is this going to the cause in which I'm donating to? Are they actually putting in the time in which people do question nonprofits in a way that I think maybe is a little too harsh or unfair, but it is the reality. So for that transparency, I'm sure that really helps.
Yeah, you have to be transparent, and it's just because it is a nonprofit world. I recently had somebody give like the example of going and buying like a new iPhone. They walk in, they're like, okay, so this iPhone costs $1,000. I would like to know how much of that goes to this, and how much of that goes to the worker, and how much of that goes, like, we don't do that in business. Like, we don't Like, we would never ask a CEO, like, what is your income? How much are
Yeah.
you making for all of this work? But I've been asked that, like, just because I run a nonprofit, like, people expect like weirdly different expectations between a business owner and a nonprofit CEO. So yeah, we definitely have some room for improvement in that field.
Yeah, I was just talking to someone else about this the other day. He works solely with nonprofits. He does marketing, and yeah, we were just discussing the idea that the standards for someone that works at a nonprofit in this equivalent position as someone that works in a company
Mhm.
is almost demonized for having a livable wage because a lot of the donation money is going to
Right.
this salary instead of going to this cause. But it's like these people work and do this for a living and need to be paid fairly. Like, just because they're doing something that is for good and out of the kindness of their hearts doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be paid for their work. I mean, and it's very disheartening because a CEO of a company that may not do any good with that company is commended for, working their way to that salary and whatever it may be. But then someone who gets that same salary in the nonprofit world is scrutinized for that. Yeah, and it's very sad.
Yeah. We've got some work to do because, like, if we want the best and the brightest coming up with ways to improve the world, which in ways to eliminate poverty and hunger and malnutrition, then we can't expect just like, that everybody with these great minds is going to be able to work for free.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
need the best and the brightest to solve these problems. So I'm a big fan in paying people what they're worth. Yeah.
I agree. And we do live in a culture that money is very it drives people. And our economy is somewhat not doing too well at the moment. So I think that more than anything, of course, like, people want to be paid what they believe they deserve to be paid. And unfortunately, it deters people from doing good work because they're not getting paid what they believe they deserve or what they can be paid for to live and support their family or themselves. And it is very larger conversation that we can't fix right now.
Yeah,
But very true.
I think the flip side to that is that if you are that person, if you are that founder or that CEO or however wherever you are in that business, then my invitation is that they also get involved with the nonprofit, that they make that one of their pillars of success is that they're supporting a charity. Like, this is a big conversation that I have with business owners and founders, because there's so much statistical evidence that shows that their employee engagement, their employee retention, like all of these positive effects are because they have a community that they're like working to solve problems that are bigger than their paychecks. Like, they love that. I mean, we've got like this generation that is like all about social equality and making sure that people earn their fair wages. And so we've got like this cool movement going on because of the new generation coming up. They're just like, wait, we'll work for less if the company's doing good in the world. Like, that's more important to us than getting a great salary. So I'm hopeful, and I'm excited to see, like, those are our conversations, like, with business owners, like, and we've got a couple of our fun partners, and they sponsor several kiddos a month. So they've got their photos up, in the offices. They've got their photos on the cubicles and inside the desks. And it brings something different. It really shows the employees that they're working for something cool, and that that their work is helping others eat and go to school and have opportunities that they wouldn't have before. So I think you do it. You go out there and make a ton of money, and then remember that our job is, or our duty is if we can, we should. So if we have the ability then we should give.
Yeah, I agree. I think that people also just feel good doing good most of the time. Maybe that is like an inherently selfish thing, but I don't know. But I think that when I think that people are willing to accept less pay than maybe they deserve, and deserve is very arbitrary because, you know, so many people deserve a lot of things. But because they're like happier, like especially if you're working towards something that you believe in and you're also being treated well, which I think is a big thing too, because I think that nonprofits also sometimes need some work in that regard as well, of like not working people to the bone, or expecting them to, because we're all human too. But I think that's really all you need. Like, I think a lot of people are willing to accept like less money because they're just happy doing what they do. And yeah, maybe it's like it might be a little more of a struggle with that kind of income, but also I think that a lot of people are going to be on that income maybe in an equivalent position that isn't doing something good anyway. So I think it's you know, it's a whole complicated thing.
It is a whole complicated thing. So yeah.
Well, so going back to more specifics about what you do, we got into a whole philosophical conversation about nonprofits. But so how do you guys measure your impact? Is it kind of like, unfortunately, I understand that numbers speak, like statistics speak, but unfortunately when it's like a direct impact with individuals, it's kind of difficult to measure and show to people. How do you navigate that, as well as kind of like show what you're doing on a level in which seems impactful, even if you can see the direct effects?
Right. And direct is so easy for me. It was so funny for me when people are like, but I need to see the numbers. And I was like, that doesn't speak to me. Like,
you want to see like a happy kid instead, or like someone that's like, they look healthier than they did like 6 months ago.
So that's something I've had to learn, because it did not come to me like in a numerical fashion. I was like, what do you mean? So with that being said, like we track all of our kiddos. We know that we can say that they eat 3 meals a day. We also know that when we're sponsoring one kiddo, that food goes for the family. So that our numbers are much higher in reality than we say. So we say we're providing 3 meals a day for each kiddo, but we also know that it's feeding the family, which is multiple times more than just that one kiddo. And then we're tracking like our self-sustainability programs. We've got gardens all over in multiple different communities. So we've got like over 2,000 gardens growing right now. So, you know, numerically, like that's over 2 million meals a year that are being created from those gardens. We've just had to start taking like all the numbers and keeping track of all the things. And, you know, but those are big, impactful amounts. And like to be able to track our kiddos' growth. So we do height and weight. We're tracking as they're moving out of stages of malnutrition. When they started, they were at a specific percentage, and now they're, you know, growing at a normal rate instead of being at the 3%. So it's just like keeping track of numbers, and that's fine. It's not my cup of tea, but it's a necessity. So we do it. Like, probably what I should do is like keep track of how many volunteer hours we do, like when we're in country, because that could be a really fun number. So I lead trips where we get to go and we work, you know, within our community. And so I get to lead a bunch of really cool, heart-centered individuals who want to see what the world is like outside of their comfort levels. And so, yeah, maybe I need to do that. Start tracking volunteer hours. That'd be awesome.
I think that would be awesome. I think that, I completely understand how you feel though about like you can see the impact, like the emotional impact, and that's what's really important is, you know, what you're really seeing. But unfortunately, you know, major corporations, companies, businesses that are donating to a cause like to see statistics. And it's it's sad too when you know you're doing you're doing a lot and you can see that impact directly, but unfortunately sometimes the statistics don't look as nice as someone's looking for as well, and it is unfortunate that numbers talk.
Yeah, and it makes sense, you know, we want to see the numbers, but for me, I can see it. So when our moms started, like, for the first time in their lives, they had somebody that had their back. And they all expressed that to me, that this was the first time in their lives that they felt like somebody was caring for them, and that all the stresses of the world and feeding their kiddos was not just solely on their shoulders. And I could visibly see it. Like, I could visibly see stress being removed from their faces, their worries, you know, their shoulders. Like, they were standing taller, they could breathe easier. Like, but those aren't numbers to track, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't really put that into like a cute little graph.
Yeah.
So those are the stories that, like, and that's the impact that resonates with me. And then we do the numbers to resonate with everyone else that numbers resonate with.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that it comes down to numbers, because people are not a number. Like, if you're making an impact at all, that is a good thing. And of course, like, the emotional impact is something that's kind of immeasurable. I mean, it is, you know, you get to see that, you know, there are people that their emotional well-being is better, like they're doing better, they're more positive because they're being supported, but that's not something that you can really put on paper, and it is
so we get to express it in both ways, so it works. Like, we do our good feeling, like, explanations, and then we do our numbers, so hopefully we have all of our bases covered.
You mentioned the like trips that are being made. Are these volunteers collected from the US that are going to Guatemala to help? And like, how are these people that find out about Be Humanitarian organically, or something that you kind of crowd search for? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we're always marketing for more volunteers, and we've had volunteers from all around the country, and we have donors that are from, like, and sponsors that are from outside of the country. So we have individuals that are like in Australia and in Spain and Belgium. They're like, I can't wait to come and do this volunteer trip. But as of yet, we've had all of our volunteers from around the country. And so without a doubt, like, our huge marketing effort is like getting people to join us in Guatemala, because I don't think there's like a bigger impact than seeing it firsthand.
Yeah,
like, that's where the impact happens. That's where the eyes and the heart and the soul are like, oh wow, and I'm a part of this. And then they can feel this, beautiful sense of pride and like engagement, that they are involved with this community and supporting this community and loving, this community. So anytime anyone wants to join us, they are more than welcome. On our website, we have all of the trips listed. And I also understand that, like, travel isn't for everyone, travel, maybe not, it won't work for everyone. And so then that's why they can get involved in a much, more local way by donating and receiving cards and receiving, stuff in the mail and receiving emails from our team, letting them know the person that they're serving, letting them know the kiddo that they're caring for. So if you can't travel, you can still sponsor. But we would love to have you come. We would love to spend that time with you.
I I will look into this because I would really like to. But I think that this is a perfect place to end because that was a beautiful call to action. I hope that you guys can check out Be Humanitarian. We're a little over time, so I think this is beautiful, and I think that you ended that perfectly. But I really appreciate you sharing all of this with me today. This was a wonderful organization to learn about. I hope that everyone watching can get involved in some way and do some investigation into the website. Thank you again so much, Toby.
Thanks, Jenny.
I really appreciate talking to you.
You've been listening to Unified Purpose, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.